Hi, hope you guys are doing well. It's time for our first episode Q&A. We're gonna do a video like this every week now, so always make sure to put your questions down in the comment section underneath my reviews so I can answer them in an upcoming video. Let's do this. Lizzie Bennett asks, what gets Rhaenyra angry at the funeral when she looks at her father? How many seasons are there going to be? And lastly, do you want to see Mushroom? I think it's nothing but understandable that Rhaenyra was angry at Viserys. Viserys has been trying to get a son for years now and, well, it ended up killing her mother. Scenes like this will help us understand where Rhaenyra's resentment for the system is coming from, so it was very important to show that, to have that little scene in my opinion. I think it'll be more wholesome now, more like the book describes it, that yes, Viserys was a very loving father of Rhaenyra. I think it's gonna be wholesome now, between the two. And I think Viserys will have a lot of scenes with her, him counseling her. I think that's something that we'll see much more of now. How many seasons? Well, Miguel Sapochnik and Ryan Condal were talking about 3 or 4 seasons, and I think that's fair. I personally believe that 3 seasons is perfect, but you can also just stretch it out to 4 seasons without damaging the story. It works both ways. Would I have loved to see Mushroom? I don't know, to be honest. I think it's just kind of too close to Tyrion Lannister, and the complaints would have been all over the internet. Who knows, maybe we'll get a neat little cameo in the upcoming seasons, but having him be there all the time and being a funny character, always making some witty jokes, it's just too close to Tyrion Lannister in my opinion. But I'd happily take a cameo. Trisha asks, do you think that Daemon actually said heir for a day? We don't see him saying that. There was a lot of talk about this on the internet. I personally believe that he did say it, but I really like that it was left open. And it really feels like the good old times when we were watching Game of Thrones and people came out with their own little theories. That's just exactly what happened with that scene. I think House of the Dragon has to be careful. I think the writers of the show have to be careful how they use Daemon. If you do stuff like this, if you take this away from the character, if you didn't say it, you're kind of whitewashing a character that is very capable of saying stuff like that. I wouldn't mind it too much if he ended up not saying it, if he really did save Mysaria, but I would prefer it if he actually said it. By the way, that's also why I liked the scene of him making a show out of the killings and mutilations and everything that was happening there. I know it's a bit silly, like they were just walking around like, that's a murderer. Oh, how do you know? How do you know that is actually the guy? It was, the way they were doing it was a bit silly, but I actually really like the scene because of that. Because it actually shows that he has some darkness to him. That he is a rogue. That he's a very great character. Because up until that point, he was very likable. So it was important to show his other side. And I hope that this great portrayal of Daemon will carry on all throughout the run of the show. You always have to question a guy. You always have to sit back and think about his actions. And think about if you agree, if you disagree. I think that makes for a great character. And I hope we get a lot of that. Joe Pepe asks, what landmark in King's Landing excited you the most? Mine was the Dragonpit, for obvious reasons. Same here, the Dragonpit. Can't wait for more scenes here. I hope we really explore that place. It's a famous place and it becomes very important later on in the story and I can't wait to see it. I think they did a great job with King's Landing and the Red Keep and everything. Like you could really believe that this was a time of decadence, that this was the prime of the Targaryen dynasty. Everything is very colorful. I like the color grading of the show so far. I think they did a great job. But yeah, again, if I had to pick just one, obviously Dragonpit. Can't wait to explore that place. Spider Egg asks, was the insistence of the Maesters that Aemma bathe in tepid water a sign of their ignorance of Targaryen physiology, or an early sign of malice on their part? Jarkhead's question goes into the same direction. What is going on between Otto Hightower and Grand Maester Mellos? I smell conspiracy. Okay, 2 questions that are pretty much going into the same direction. Great catch with the tepid water, by the way. If they are really setting a Maester's conspiracy up with subtle little hints like this, then I already love it. Because I didn't catch that, to be honest. I didn't. And thinking about it, it really feels like this could be something. If they're really trusting their audience that much, well, then I think we're in for a treat. That really is the kind of storytelling that I was looking forward to, and I hope that you're right. I hope that this was an early sign. In general, though, is there gonna be a Maesters conspiracy? I don't know. I don't know if there's gonna be a full-blown conspiracy against the dragons, against House Targaryen in general, rather than a secret alliance between the Maesters of Old Town and House Hightower. Can go both ways. Obviously, I love the Maesters conspiracy. If you've been following this channel for a while, then you know that Old Town and everything that happens at the Citadel and Winds of Winter is something that I look forward to the most. I love the intrigue, I love everything that surrounds secrets and plotting and backstabbing. It was one of the things that I was looking forward to the most in Game of Thrones, and I never really got that. Never truly got what Old Town is like, what it's like at the Citadel, what the Maesters are like. There were a few good scenes, but it really wasn't all that much, so I hope we get something in House of the Dragon. Of course, I hope we get something that really shows how much this stuff actually matters, how much power the Maesters have. I hope we get something like this. I hope we get a full-blown conspiracy, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, I like the early signs. I don't think that Viserys' wounds have anything to do with it, but these scenes are placed there, so we talk about it, and there are subtle little hints that this is something that could possibly happen. I mean, Ryan Condal is a big fan of the Song of Ice and Fire universe, so of course he would have a clue about this theory. We'll see where it goes, but I hope so. I really like Rhys Ifans' Otto Hightower so far. I hope we get as many scenes of the Small Council as possible, and I hope we get a lot of him. Let's see how it goes. FTE asks, will Rhaenyra hook up with Criston Cole? Is she bisexual? I think so. I absolutely believe that they are going to hook up. Why else would they show or emphasize this little conversation between Rhaenyra and Sir Harold Westerling? Like that little remark there, who is this, like, you know, what they were trying to do with that scene. And I think they will hook up. And I think that she ditched his ass. I think that's where the hatred is coming from later on. About Rhaenyra being bisexual, I have seen a lot of comments about that. I'm not sure. Could be. I don't think so, because it would obviously involve Alicent, and spoiler alert, Alicent is going to marry Viserys soon, so why would you wanna hook up with someone that is sleeping with your father? Like, that is a bit... I know Westeros is weird, but that would be really, really weird, you know? So I don't know. I don't think so personally. We'll see. Omkar asks, why didn't Rhaenys and Viserys marry each other? Well, because I think Rhaenys really genuinely loves Corlys, and she really fell in love with the guy. I think Viserys married Aemma Arryn 1 year after Rhaenys married Corlys, so she was already married at that point. Yes, this would have saved a lot of trouble in the future. At least we have that amazing, wholesome relationship between Corlys and Rhaenys. Can't wait for more scenes of Corlys and Rhaenys, by the way. We haven't gotten that much in episode 1, but the little scenes we got really gave us some great energy. I'm looking forward to more power couple scenes. Let's see what episode 2 has to offer. Betrayed King asks, do you think that it's just the prophecy of ice and fire that is inscribed on the Catspaw dagger? No magic spell or other enhancement, making it stronger than its usual properties, which is why it made sense to kill the Night King in Game of Thrones. That really depends on where this is going. If they connect both shows, they have to stay true to the show's canon, but they could also just say, fuck it, let's stay true to the Song of Ice and Fire canon. So this is exactly where I'm torn. I'm waiting for something. I'm not hating on this decision that they plucked the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy in there, but I'm also just not fully sold yet. I think it can be great, but you're also running the risk of trying to connect to something that is not worth being connected to your new original show. We shall see. It could be that this is just a prophecy, but then again, prophecy is mostly bullshit in the Song of Ice and Fire, so it's not that important in the grand scheme of things. I also think that there's gonna be a lot of misinterpretation in general, because this was a dream that Aegon had, not Viserys. So some things may have been lost over time. I mean, it's 100 years, it would only make sense. I trust Condal and the writers. Let's see what they have in store for us. Suneris asks, Which episode 1 scene did you enjoy the most? That would have to be the scene between Daemon and Viserys in the throne room. I loved the energy, I loved everything about that scene. Both Paddy Considine and Matt Smith acted their ass off. You could really feel how hurt Viserys was and how angry Daemon was. It was a very well done scene. It also really showed how complicated the relationship between both brothers really is. Both actors really seem to have a great dynamic on screen, and I hope we get as many scenes as possible. Dialogue was also really good, as it was all throughout the first episode in my opinion, but I really like that emo line, "Why do you cut me so deeply?" Like, I really liked how Paddy Considine was delivering those lines. I love everything about that scene. That scene is my favorite of the episode. Dan Siegel asks, can House of the Dragon succeed artistically and popularly without offering some genuinely funny moments? I think we're all a bit overreacting at this point. I think obviously this show will have its funny moments. There's gonna be a bit of banter between Daemon and Corlys later on, and I really doubt that it is always gonna be dark like episode 1. It made sense to do all of the introductions in a very serious way, I didn't mind that at all, and I wouldn't mind if this show had less comedy than Game of Thrones had. I personally really like that this show takes itself so seriously, but I wouldn't mind a bit of banter in between, sure. I don't think it's as serious as House of the Dragon failing or succeeding with comedy or less comedy, but overall this is a very, very dark time period that we're heading for, and I really enjoy the dark storytelling. I really like how they did that. They did it both with the dialogue as well as how they were shooting those scenes. Really like the color grading of the very first scene. It was very dark. The Great Council was very, very dark. And obviously it makes sense. It makes sense when you look at what follows this decision. So again, I don't mind it, but I wouldn't mind the other way around. So let's see. I don't think this is a big deal. And the last question for today. Danger22 asks, when will we see the first dragon battle? Very soon actually, and without spoiling anything, it's called the War for the Stepstones. I think that is gonna be in either episode 4 or 5. The episode is called The King of the Narrow Sea. Judging by what we've seen in the trailer, it's gonna be a pretty big thing. We're gonna have dragons involved, it's gonna be a sea battle, it's gonna be a battle on land, by day, by night. I think this is gonna be a battle episode that is just focused on the battle. And yeah, looking forward to it, and you should as well. I think, again, it's gonna be a pretty big deal in this season. Alright, that is all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, this Q&A. We're gonna have one weekly now, as I said. I hope you enjoy episode 2 later on tonight. Would very much appreciate you subscribing to the channel. We're gonna be very, very busy all throughout the run of House of the Dragon. We're gonna have multiple videos a week. A podcast episode, a review, a Q&A, and something else as well. But you'll know when I am allowed to talk about it. Thank you guys for watching, take care, and see you later.